This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Get real.
No.
This
Just
is
stop.
a sham.
It's finally here. Drum roll.
Welcome to DBL. Happy Tuesday, everybody. How's that Oscar hangover doing for everybody?
I just found out it was Tuesday. I went the whole day not knowing it was Tuesday.
What do you think it was?
I don't know.
Like maybe Wednesday?
Monday-ish.
Wow.
Like
Monday-ish?
Yeah, like somewhere,
guess
somewhere
You know what?
Monday-ish.
It is kind of Monday-ish.
Yeah.
It's kind of Monday-ish because we're going back in on the Oscars.
That's right.
So it's Monday part 2. So despite being more than 3 hours long, the ratings for Oscars this year were up about 12%. That's 18.7 million people tuning in. That's a 3-year high, but still pretty low by historical standards. So several of the stars who won are making TV appearances now, talking about their big wins, including Jamie Lee Curtis. She was on the Today Show, and once again, she got pretty emotional talking about her parents, actors Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh. Take a look.
They've been my beautiful shadow my whole life, and it was always, they walked in the room before I did anytime I went anywhere. And I always understood it and accepted it with the grace I tried to. And you know, they were both nominated for Oscars and never won one.
And meantime, Kiwi Kwan made a surprise appearance on Jimmy Kimmel last night with his new friend, Mr. Oscar. That was weird. Let's watch.
What are you doing here? I'm looking for my car.
Wait, are you still up from the Oscars last night?
Aren't you?
No, I know. Aren't you tired?
I will never go to sleep, Jimmy. I can't let the best day of my life end.
All right. What were you up to? What were you doing?
Well, actually, also, I was out all night with Cocaine Bears.
Oh, okay, no, that's right.
I love that. That was a good bit. Why do you guys think the Oscars were up? I got to say my piece is that there's a number of things, but Kiwi Kwan I definitely think is part of it. Why those numbers were up? Because he's so genuine. People want to see more of him, and I think those first-year people really got people to tune in at home.
Yeah, I mean, there's nostalgia with the whole Goonies, Encino Man. You want to watch both Brendan Fraser
Absolutely.
and Kiwi Kwan. I also think it has to be a lot of like, is there going to be a slap? Something going to happen with
sure.
this one.
Do you think people thought that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they wanted
What
to
are the
see.
chances of two back to
No.
How they would react to the slap.
Oh, okay.
Like, not that there would be a second slap.
Yeah, but then when they stop watching,
Man, I really hope there's an assault again this year.
it's like, that's my whole criteria.
Yeah.
No.
I just need a hit, but I do think that they wanted to see how the Oscars would respond. And I thought it was just like entertaining, moving. Once you were in, it was sort of fun to continue watching. I bet people tuned in the beginning and kept going.
Yeah. What do you think, Eric?
I think curiosity was a big part of it. I mean, obviously, having something as monumental as someone getting slapped on national television was something that wasn't on any of our bingo cards for last year. And I think there's also this thing where people are like, well, we don't know what could possibly happen. It's live television. Anything could happen. Let's watch. So I think curiosity did carry over.
Yeah, I think Jimmy, too, he addressed it, so people tuned in. They saw the joke, and they're like, you know what? This is going pretty good, and they stuck around.
And I think people remember that they liked the Oscars. Remember, like 5-6 years ago, you'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to an Oscars party." People weren't like, "What?" Like people used to have Oscars. People were into it, and people would have.
We would have a money drop with
there
people
would be
over, gamble.
Yeah, so I think maybe we're kind of getting back to that. Where like the Oscars isn't this thing like what were the ratings? It's just like something people do.
Yeah, getting back to normal. So every year the Oscars has an in memoriam segment, and almost every year people are upset because certain people are left off that list. So this year was no different. Some of the missing names this year included Anne Heche, Tom Sizemore, and Paul Sorvino. They were, however, listed on or in the in memoriam section on the Oscars website. So Mira Sorvino was not happy about her dad being left out. She tweeted out, "It is baffling beyond belief that my beloved father and many other brilliant departed actors were left out." Sorry, I butchered that last part. So why do you think certain people were left off, especially big names like that? Paul Sorvino, Goodfellas, Ray Liotta was on there. What do you think before I start speculating? Why do you think they were left out?
Just briefly, I think, sometimes the correct answer is the most simple one. We were already, remember, we said that we were not going to hand out any awards that were not on camera. So we're adding more time to the event there. People already complain it's too long. So there has to be places where you cut things, and whenever you cut things, people are like, no, but that's my favorite thing, or that's Erica's like, things have to be cut, and I think sometimes it might just be as simple as like we had to cut some things out, and unfortunately Paul didn't make the cut. Not saying it's right, not saying I don't like Paul,
right.
I love his movies. I just think maybe that was it.
I could understand Anne Heche. I don't get Paul Sorvino. I also know that there was a moment in which Mira Sorvino, his daughter, won for Aphrodite, Mighty Aphrodite, and he was sobbing in the audience, and they kept showing dad and daughter, and there was this big Oscar moment. Very surprised about Paul. That seems like a mistake to me. Tom Sizemore, I don't know if it's about the drugs. I don't know. Anne Heche seems like a little problematic, but I think Paul Sorvino was a mistake.
Well, this conversation is just hard in general because we're obviously talking about all people who have passed on.
Right.
And, regardless of how they live their lives, like they also passed on in the last year. So it's still fresh for the people who know and love them. I think what you said, sometimes the best answer or the most truthful answer is actually the simplest one.
Some razors.
There are hundreds, if not a couple hundred, apparently, people who have passed away in the past year who could have been memorialized in this way, but due to a timing issue, they weren't. And when they came together to make the decision on who was going to be actually televised, there might have been some people who were easy to take off that list. There might have been some people that there was some back and forth. There may have been people on that list who didn't have anyone to advocate on their behalf in the room. Mm-hmm. I think that's really just the answer.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Oscars, Ashley Graham is speaking out about that awkward interview with Hugh Grant. So Hugh was accused of being rude after he seemed annoyed and dismissive of Ashley's questions, but TMZ caught up with the model who gave this response. Let's listen.
Was there any offense taken to the Hugh Grant thing that everyone keeps trending about?
You know what? My mama told me to kill people with kindness, so there you go.
And great questions. There was another awkward exchange at the Oscars when a reporter got his facts wrong about Kate Hudson. Let's watch.
Kate, you know what it's like to win an Oscar.
Hi, Ronnie Rose. I've never won an Oscar.
I gave you one in my head. In my head.
But I'm sure it's amazing.
Well, listen. She could have took that a totally different way like Hugh Grant. She didn't. Right. But that guy was also thinking on his feet. I'm going to let you guys talk. What do you think?
I was just reading about Jimmy Kimmel's response to the interview, the Hugh Grant interview, and he's like, has Hugh Grant never walked a red carpet before? He was like, that's some of the questions that they're going to ask. So I think there's a way to do it. We saw Kate Hudson do it, but those things always just make me cringe, and I feel like you get out of it by being polite and killing with kindness. So Ashley
he was
right.
definitely polite when he was being interviewed for some transgressions that he had. So it just shows you that he can turn the switch off and on, because when he was caught with a passenger in his car that was not his wife,
and then he was on Letterman,
very contrite.
remember?
He didn't have anything to say negative to the people asking questions then. But now that he tricked the public and now you guys think he's a charming person again, his real personality is oozing out. So I hope you guys understand what we're seeing here. We're seeing the real Hugh.
I didn't know you.
Why are you indicting us? I don't have any feelings about you.
I'm saying the editorial us. I mean, it's so interesting when you are up against the ropes and you call your famous friends and you say, I need to kind of get this out. I need to get some positive, information out there. You come out there and you're contrite, but once the public forgives you, then you take it upon yourself to embarrass another person that was having their first gig. I think that was a really foul act that he did. I thought that was really rude of him, especially on your first gig. Yeah. She wasn't great, but who's great in their first gig?
Was that her first time?
I think at the Oscars it certainly was, yeah.
Oh.
Coming up on DBL, our interview with the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson. She's dishing on royal life and her dear friend Lisa Marie Presley. And the Last of Us finale brought in big numbers. Does it have anything to do with people believing in a zombie apocalypse?
Somebody roll the clip.
Let's make sure we have Jeff's sex tape.
Wow, things are getting spicy here at DBL.
Cold-hearted snake, look into his eyes.
Let's roll that again, everybody.
Lindsay Lohan is pregnant.
Who?
Yeah, we'll be mentioning that in the
Who's pregnant?
Lindsay Lohan.
She is? That's exciting. She's really turned herself around. You know what I hate, though? She's covered up her freckles. I learned once a girl without freckles is like a day without sunshine.
I don't think that's a saying at all.
It is. It was.
Yes, and then you said, do you
I
know
like
what I
freckles.
learned once? What school is this?
My friend had a lot of freckles and was uncomfortable with it, like a lot. And then someone once said that, and it sort of made her feel better.
It's so strange. All the things that
Girls
make people stand out.
Now it's a filter that you can get. Like, yeah, you can get freckles added.
It's
So stupid.
such
So
a weird
stupid.
thing where it's like we try and blend in by all looking as homogenized as possible.
Totally.
And now we're having our computers put discerning marks to make us stand
Right?
out.
Isn't that funny?
Human
So
psychology, but you know, I do think that's one of the things that's great for this younger generation. My kids are growing up in is they're much more accepting of just like any kind
Differences.
of physical. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't think like kids that have like a birthmark on their face would have as much trouble in school as they would.
Or vitiligo. Like, imagine,
Right.
remember when Winnie Harlow came out? That was a big deal. The
Right.
model that has vitiligo.
My ex-girlfriend in college had vitiligo.
Really?
Yeah, my.
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah,
I
it's
think it's
just,
stunning. It's when you get the different pigments of the skin, that white over the skin, or
Right.
it's non-pigmented, really.
Right.
Bill Nye does a really great job. He has, Bill Nye, the science guy. He has a whole thing on the world. It has a map, and it shows you with the sun, and it shows you hyperpigmentation of why people became black in certain regions and why some people turn much paler, and it has to really do with sunlight and where they are living in the world and how it's all based on the sun and how absolutely inane racism is. Bill Nye, 2024.
Welcome back. Sunday's finale of the HBO series The Last of Us. Any fans here?
Woo!
Yes.
Tori!
All right.
She's the last of the fans.
No, it seemed like a lot of people. It brought in 8.2 million viewers despite airing at the same time as the Oscars. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
The show is about the world being taken over by infected zombie-like people. So the first 6 episodes averaged more than 30 million viewers. That's more than House of Dragons, another HBO hit, which had an average of 29 million viewers over 6 episodes. That was surprising to me. So a new study also says that 58% of people believe a zombie apocalypse will occur in the next 30 years, and 11% actually think zombies already exist. Why do I care so much about what people write about me on Instagram?
Well,
58% seems like a lot.
That seems a little nutty.
Okay, here's the thing, though. You have to think about this. The Last of Us is based on a video game, and it's not just zombies coming out of nowhere. It's a fungus, a pandemic that takes over the world, and you see the fungus grow, and this fungus then infects you, and it turns you then into some kind of zombie-like creature. But when I read in the New York Times, there is a full capacity that a fungus could, in fact, become a pandemic, take over, and hurt lots and lots of people. This is a viable
So you're
thing
in the 58%.
No,
Yes,
I don't think
she
there's
makes it
zombies.
59%.
Do I think that pandemics like this could happen and create a apocalyptic world? Absolutely, absolutely, especially with climate change and all of that.
But how do we get to the zombies?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how the infected become the undead, but that's where they go with this.
Right.
I think there were some zombie side effects as someone who's not a believer in zombie, but I would say that there's a variation of a zombieism that happened
After
as a
COVID?
result of the pandemic. Yeah.
Okay.
You think some
That
people
was-
turned into zombie-like kind of people?
I think you can read between the lines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing, but I think that there's a lot of people that kind of want that to happen. Like, if you think about, look at all
Listen.
the doomsday preppers that have 80
Yeah.
days worth of string baby peas in their basement. People want this to happen.
But I don't know if, I'm sorry, Jeff.
Go ahead. I was
I
just
don't
going to make
know
fun of America.
if it's that people want these things to happen. I think that sometimes it comes from a place of trauma. Like, I'm kind of thinking about things like what could go wrong based on what has gone wrong. And then I also think there are people who want to be the most prepared for something. So if it's something that they can't control in their lives right now, like maybe they're not the most prepared for their job or how they're, rearing their children or whatever, but they
they'll
could
overprepare
say,
for this.
right, that they're like, but I'm the #1 prepared for this zombie apocalypse.
See, I couldn't even say that. Like, my earthquake preparedness kit would be, I have nothing.
Do you have anything prepared at all for any kind of situation? Okay, no.
America ran out of toilet paper during the pandemic, and we almost died, okay?
Yeah,
you think we're going to go out into the woods and survive against zombies? No. I'll be fine, but
Oh, you'll be
people
fine.
commenting about me, you'll be dead. All right, coming up on DBL, the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, is talking about her new book. Ooh, you got to stick around. That's Fergie, baby, coming up next.
Being single and renting your own place does have its benefits. You don't have to compromise on what shows you have to watch, and you don't have to share the bathroom. But according to a new study, it comes at a cost. A Zillow study shows Charlotte is 18th on the list of places where singles pay more in rent. So to get the facts, we went to the Zillow study itself. David Hoffman, realtor and president of David Hoffman Realty, and Rent Cafe, a site that keeps track of rent prices across the country. The Zillow study found on average every year solo renters are paying nearly $7,000 more in rent than couples. Here in Charlotte, they found solo renters on average pay $7,915 more annually.
Usually singles, they only have one income versus a lot of married couples, they have two. And so their buying power is less, and so they go the rental route. But then ironically enough, the rental payment is often more than the mortgage payment would have been.
According to Rent Cafe, the average rent for a 944 square foot apartment in Charlotte is $1,667. However, they found more people in Charlotte actually own their own homes, something Hoffman says singles should look into if they plan on staying in the Queen City.
It has to be a short-term thing where you're like, okay, I paid a premium to be new to Charlotte, but then long-term, as soon as I'm able, I need to start moving towards either real estate, stocks, precious metals, whatever it is, just having an asset class that builds wealth.
So even though you can control the remote control, it may cost you more. The top city with the highest price to pay if you're a single renter, you guessed it, New York City, with a whopping $19,000 premium to live alone. With your Verified Fact Check, I'm Megan Bragg.
Welcome back to DBL. She was the redheaded rebel of the royal family who became a best-selling author. Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, has a new novel on the shelves, and earlier we spoke with her. Take a look. Please welcome to DBL. We are so honored, Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Duchess, I am so excited to speak with you. I'm also a dog mom, and I have to ask you, the Queen's corgis famously live with you now. I wanted to know, do they miss their mom, and why specifically the Queen wanted them to go to you? I read that you all had a very special, funny, close relationship.
Yes, I was so lucky because in the last 3 years I went dog walking every day with the Queen, and I just loved the moment where I used to drop a note saying, "Shall we dog walk today?" And I think when the Queen died, I think she really wanted us to look after the corgis, and it's a great treat. I think when they go off barking, I think they are actually. She must be around.
She's there.
Because if there's not a squirrel in sight, then what are they barking at? So I say it must be her keeping an eye.
Oh, Wookiees.
Wow,
Lovely.
Duchess, before I get to my question, I just got to know, do you still get residual checks from friends?
Aha, you saw Joey. Nice hat, Joey. Nice hat, Joey.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think a lot of people.
I love that.
Yeah, a lot of people here in America, I think, do know you from that, of course, other than being the Duchess. But we do talk about the royals a lot on this show. And as Americans, we're pretty removed from that world, including me. So what don't people really understand as, quote, life, quote unquote, life of a royal?
Well, I think if I told you, we'd remove the mystery and then we wouldn't be interesting. No, I was just joking.
So there's some secrets.
I love it. No, but this is what's intriguing, and this is why I wrote my book, because it's all intriguing. You've got to read the book. It is most intriguing. And the thing about the British way of life and the etiquette and the mystery is that it's also fascinating. And in history, we can learn so much from the past in history. And I love the honour it was to be the Queen's daughter-in-law, and learning from her that the show goes on, you can definitely, as a member of the royal family, make other people's lives happier. And I believe the king is going to be phenomenal. And he's, you know, I've known him all my life, and he's a very special man.
That's beautiful.
So let's talk about your new book, A Most Intriguing Lady. It is a romance novel, and you are single. So are there any hints of what you're looking for in a man in this novel?
Okay, Erica, how long have you got?
For you, Duchess, all the time in the world.
That's
it. My perfect would be Cary Grant, I think. Yes. I like the suit. I like the tall. Yes, I like him very tall. Tall man. The most important thing, of course, is kindness and opening the. I still love the car door open for me, too. And I love romance.
I do too.
And a quick trip to Paris on the train. Fab. Yeah. Okay, that'll do. And just the general sort of feeling of great manners. I love a gentleman, and so if anyone's out there, you know, just sort of. And anyway, what I did, Erica, is I added everything that I would want in a man into the book, A Most Intriguing Lady. So my Lady Mary, who's my great-great-aunt, falls in love. Oh dear, I must make you go and read the book.
We're reading the book, but in the meantime, I'm gonna get the feelers out for a man because I got all the criteria. We'll talk about it over drinks, okay?
All right, I'm just saying I checked a lot of those boxes. Suit, tall, sense of humor, families from the South, I open doors. I'm just saying. Now, we...
And you're called Albert, you know, and one of my heroes in life is Prince Albert, the most exceptional gentleman who was, you know, head of the royal family.
That's right.
That's what's up. Well, Duchess, before you go, in January you spoke at Lisa Marie Presley's funeral. What is something the rest of the world, all of us, we don't know about her, but we should?
She was. We got on so well. We were sisters. We called each other Sissy because we just were had an understanding. Rather like when Diana died, I think Lisa Marie took the sort of place in my heart. Well, no, Diana's always in my heart, but Lisa Marie was very similar to Diana. You know, that sense of light, the kindest person you'll ever wish to meet, the most generous, and the most opening and embracing of goodness. And I loved everything about her. She was unique. And in my darkest moment, she sent me an airline ticket and went to Hawaii. And I stayed with her. Wow. And she picked me up from the airport and drove the car herself. And she said, in all my life, I've never gone to the airport by being driven by myself, and I'm picking you up and driving by myself, so you made me do it. And we spent the most incredible time together.
Well, DBL Nation, this sequel, A Most Intriguing Lady, is available now. Also, if you haven't already, check out her first best-selling novel, Her Heart for a Compass. You are one of the royals that I have always felt is human, because you have a wonderful sense of humor, and it is lovely, lovely talking with you. It's been an honor here.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Duchess. We'll be right back. An honor.
No, thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
They're the questions that keep us up at night, wondering about how our sleep impacts our days. We turn to the sources here on your screen to verify. Do you really need 8 hours of sleep? That is the average. The NIH says most adults need 7 to 8 hours, some closer to 9. The Sleep Foundation has a sleep calculator tool on its website that you can use to figure out bedtime based on factors like wake-up time and age. Dr. Hassan Shami says you'll know if it's adding up.
The main measurement is refreshed they feel when they wake up.
If you aren't able to get your optimal amount of sleep in a night, can you make up for that by taking naps throughout the day?
It's not the best kind of recommended sleep behaviors.
The NIH agrees. Naps may give a short-term boost in your performance and alertness, but don't make up for lost sleep in the overnight hours, which is most important for overall health. Napping during the day can also make it harder to fall and stay asleep at night. But operating while exhausted can be dangerous. So the Sleep Foundation suggests 20 to 30-minute naps as enough for most people to counter daytime drowsiness.
The key is to be functional.
Sometimes we make up for short nights by sleeping in on a day off.
Does that work?
It doesn't pay off at the end.
That's because you're actually incurring a sleep debt. The Sleep Foundation explains studies are inconclusive on whether sleeping in when you can makes up for the negative health impacts of lack of sleep, and cites research showing it can take up to 4 days of normal sleep to recover from just 1 hour of sleep debt. It's recommended to keep a bedtime within an hour of the same time every night.
If you're on a revolving schedule where sometimes you're aligned, sometimes you're misaligned with your circadian, it becomes very challenging.
We got a question about falling asleep to the television. Is it really actually a bad idea to fall asleep to our 11 o'clock show and wake up to our morning show?
I mean, you may not like to hear my answer, but we definitely recommend against watching TV in bed.
Any activity that keeps your brain going, like reading or listening to a podcast, might keep you from falling into a restful sleep.
The idea is to keep the association between bed and sleep only.
Why are folks changing how they work out? Let's connect the dots. Gyms have looked relatively the same for the past several decades. Long rows of treadmills and elliptical machines with some free weights in the corner. Now strength training is surging in popularity thanks to some recent studies. That trend also driven by the rise in high-intensity workouts and women starting to ignore the stereotype that only men should lift weights. So as the pandemic came to an end, folks rushed back into gyms looking for dumbbells instead of treadmills. A fitness trade association says gym memberships rose in 2021 above pre-pandemic levels, along with a huge surge in strength training classes. Now, some gyms are shifting layouts to focus on weight training and cutting back on cardio equipment, all with the hopes of keeping that surge of post-pandemic members. And that is Connecting the Dots.
Welcome back. Gym intimidation is real, but that shouldn't stop you from working out. It's time for some joint and muscle support brought to you by Omega XL. So a new survey found that half of Americans have some form of anxiety around joining the gym. Having access to trainers, equipment, and community all lead to a longer, healthier life. First, remind yourself that everyone at the gym has a first day and that fitness is for everyone. Next, take time to get comfortable and observe, read reviews, and take advantage of a trial period. Next, make the experience manageable by learning one thing at a time, like mastering a move or a machine, joining a group class. Use a trainer to help you, but don't try everything all at once. Omega XL has improved the lives of millions of consumers, supported by 30 years of clinical research. Omega XL's powerful and proven benefits have transformed the lives of athletes, celebrities, and dedicated daily users. Call 800-813-6801 or visit OmegaXL.com for more information. Before we go, a big congrats to Lindsay Lohan. She confirmed that she's pregnant with her first child. Yay! She told TMZ she and her hubby are excited for our new family to arrive. Congrats, Lindsay. That's her little baby coming soon. See you guys.